Yeah, so happy Thursday night, everybody. So those of you joining the recording tonight, of course, we're doing element 13. This for some people is not a very fun element. However, those of us who have been coaches for any length of time know that this is probably one of the cornerstones as you move forward. And even as you get started, it can be a cornerstone. So, the great thing with elements 6 through 12, we're talking about your healthy weight management, how to get your weight under control. So we've kind of covered the bases there. And now we're going to start peeling back that little layer of and pulling back that curtain on what does it look like once you reach your healthy goal. And we just talked about this before I went live. Those of us who have been around for a couple of years and hit our healthy goals, over time, our environment is so busy and set up so that we get off that rat wheel of we're on 5 and 1, we get to a healthy weight, we get to a healthy goal. And then over time, we take a step off every now and then. Then we get back on, we're back in control.
Part of the journey, y'all. Just know it's part of the journey.
It's part of the journey. It is part of the journey. And, you get around friends, you go have a couple of drinks and then, oops, I had a piece of cake, or oops, I had, whatever. And so these things start to happen. And this is where this tracking really comes into play. Mindfulness is one thing. And you can tell yourself, yeah, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. But also, and I've said this before, Chris Powell, who's the Biggest Loser coach, tells all of his people when he brings them in before they start the Biggest Loser challenge, all of you lack integrity. You all lack integrity with yourselves. Not that you didn't show up this morning at 7 a.m. for this meeting, but you lack integrity when nobody's watching what you're doing.
Boom.
And so that's where this tracking and being open to accountability and not closed off. And I know how to do this. You've got to have that mentality of this is not always easy, but I've got to be open to accountability. I've got to open myself up and, hey, you know what? If I make a choice, I don't know why I had peanut butter, and I'm just using it as an example. I've not done that this week, but I don't know why. I don't know why I had the peanut butter in the jar, but I'm going to share it with my coach, and we can figure out what led me to that choice. And so, mindset, skill set, and action, of course. So provide you with tools to assess how you are doing on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. And then, of course, that action is measure your progress as you advance on your path to better health and well-being. And so, Allie, I'll let you get started and we'll jump back and forth as we go.
Well, and I want to share something. So my younger brother, both my brothers are super fit. It's so annoying, but they just are. And my younger brother is very, very fit because all of the sports he loves to do demand a lot from your body. Rock climbing, mountain biking, all kinds of things like that. So I'm his coach because he did Optavia to lean up, because with rock climbing, you don't want to bring any extra ounces with you at all when you're using your hand strength to climb, right? So anyway, so as a sister, big sister, and as a coach, we talk all the time, and every day is like, today in the gym, I hit a personal record, or beat one. And I'm like, what does that even mean? And he changed my thoughts about being excited about tracking things. And it's not that his personal record was like, I reached the biggest weight I can lift or whatever. It was that today I did one more than I was able to do this past week. I did one more. That's a personal. I was like, oh my God, I love how you look at it that way. That's not his long-term goal, but he is celebrating that he was able to do just one more this week and today. And he set up kind of, we taught, and here I'm his coach, but he was helping me. And it's basically going through here. I had a big shift in my mindset. How many years have we been going? How many times have we gone through this life book, Kenny? 5. Okay. So finally on trip 5 through the life book, I've had a shift where now I'm excited to track things because now I'm looking at it in a different way. Instead of looking at it as, oh, now I got to look at what I didn't accomplish today. I look what you did do, look at what you can celebrate. And because I'm tracking it in my mind, I can go, well, tomorrow, I wonder if tomorrow will be the day I hit that one more. I wonder if tomorrow will be the day that I get everything right. And how's that going to feel? Like I'm excited to give it a shot. And because I'm tracking it, I'm learning so much more about my journey. And I'm seeing, like Kenny was saying, if peanut butter ended up in my mouth, I'm going, golly, why did I do that? That is not what I'm trying to do right now. I start to learn things about myself that I need to learn to move past that. So, let me tell you what, it's only taken this is going to be year 6 in November. So it's only taken 5 years for me to get to this part. So I got the weight off. I'm good at losing weight. That's fine. A lot of us have, you know, gained and lost the same chunk of weight over our lifetime many times. But now I'm excited because I'm learning the things and getting excited about the things that are keeping the weight off and keeping that, that feeling when you got to your goal weight, or even the excitement of at the end of the week, you've had a great week and you've tracked everything and you can look back and people will say to me, I really am going to start talking, but I think this is relevant. I will have clients who, like Kenny said, they lost their weight, right? And then they move to transition to a different phase of their journey. And then as they navigated that, some of the weight came back on. And so they're back in 5 and 1 and they're like, I'm having a hard time. I don't have the motivation or the excitement I did. And I say, are you tracking your stuff? Because remember that first month we tracked everything. And it was so exciting every week to see things happening and to look back over the week and go, well, it's because I did all the things. And they're like, well, no, I mean, I know how to do it. I'm like, yeah, I know you know how to do it, but take it from someone who has done that herself. It's so important to track it. And it's not as punishment. It's to celebrate. It's to go, oh my gosh, look at what I've accomplished. And like Kenny said, it's to build awareness, but it's also to build integrity with yourself. When you write it down and you look at it, and you take the emotion out of it and you're just looking at, what did I learn today about myself? What did I learn about how I did today? And where were my strengths? Where were my weaknesses? That is how you're going to build lifelong wellness. So, and it's taking full responsibility for yourself, and it's building those promise keeping muscles. And Ed Milet talks about that a lot, about it's how important it is. If you guys have never heard of him, he's a personal development podcast that I enjoy, because we have this wonderful life book, but I also enjoy the podcasts that he puts out there too. But he talks about, he's another person, a high achiever, someone who is very goal oriented and growth oriented. And he talks about how building those promise keeping muscles to yourself, it's the first part of it. And it's that integrity with yourself. So let's just start looking at some of these really cool checklists that we've got on page 254. This is real basic, right? These are some really basic things to start out with. So you remember how, for those of you who are just starting your journey, these, like the cravings, the hunger level, the energy level, these are great things to take note of at the very beginning of your journey, but these are also great things to take note of if you haven't been tracking, and you're still on your way to your goal weight, or if you've got your goal weight, then you went a little sideways this summer and now you want to dial it back in. This is great. Paying attention to those cravings, paying attention to the hunger level and the energy level. Those are 3 things that tell you if you're lacking anything or if you're missing anything. It's keeping track of. A lot of it is just nutrition and keeping your insulin stable. That will change those things, but also lack of sleep will change those things. So healthy habit areas, looking at if any of those things are showing up as high, then you want to look back over your healthy habit areas and say, am I doing well in all these healthy habit areas? What do I need to work on? Healthy habits of eating and hydration. So, again, when you're on the 5 and 1, a lot of that stuff is built in, and you're only required to think about things like healthy fats, healthy meals. Am I eating small, portion correct things often enough during the day to keep my metabolism fueled? Most of that's done for you in the fuelings. But when we transition, we're starting to learn how to do that with food and fuelings. Like we're having more lean and greens in our life. So this is a great way. Again, when I tell people, when you transition, you need to track everything like you did that first month on program, because you're learning again what your new normal is, where you're in. And Kenny's Kenny's caloric count per day is going to be, where it's in a range because his is going to be different from mine. Because if, yeah, Val, go for it.
Is there any place that we can go to print some of these pages off?
Habitsofhealth.com under resources.
Where?
Habitsofhealth.com. And then you'll click on resources.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yep.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for asking that question, Val.
That's a great question.
That's a great question. Yeah. And, I love it because it's so simple. And then you have room here to make comments. If there's things that you're noticing about yourself or something you want to celebrate for the day, like a personal record, or if there's something you're noticing, like every single evening, like I'm just going to throw myself out there. Every evening at about 11 o'clock, I would want to start munching. Now I do stay up a little bit later, but what I realized was I need to go to bed. That's my body saying, you're tired, Allison. It's time to go to bed. If you want to get up at 8 o'clock, and yes, embarrassingly, that's when I wake up in the morning. That's when I start my day. Most of the world's already up and done a lot of stuff. But if you're going to do that, 11 o'clock, you need to get up and go get ready for bed and not sit there. So, those are just things that I noticed when you start tracking those things. Habits of motion. I've been asking my friends, I'm like, do you know how many hours you sit every day? I don't know if it's a Fitbit or an Apple Watch, but some people have watches that if you sit for too long, it'll start to vibrate and be like, hey, girl, you need to move. So, if that's something that would appeal to you, or setting an alarm would appeal to you, or just doing something where, when it's time for me to eat, because I'm still a grazer, I'll pause and get up and walk around. And sometimes it might be when I'm on a client call and I'm just walking around the house while I talk to them. If it happens to be during a time of day when I feel like, I need to get up and start walking around. Habits of sleep. Again, so many sleep schedules get kind of sideways in the summertime when we're having fun and we're staying up late and all those things. And you feel the repercussions of that, later. So this is a great way to track it. This looks like this is a smartwatch and it tracks whatever I want it to track. And it does steps, it can do heart rate, and it also does my sleep. So I can see how many hours I slept in a night. And that's important for me because I have sleep issues, or have had in the past, and now I'm kind of conquering those. And that makes a huge difference for me. If I'm not getting a good solid 8 hours, and it's one of those things that I'm like, yeah, I went to bed early and got up. No, I have to track it, and this tracks it. And that's really important. Sleep is one of those habits, like hydration, that has a major effect on your health and your weight. So you want to definitely, if you're not tracking your sleep, you want to pay attention to that. And it's nothing difficult. Just, when do you get to bed? When do you wake up? Do you get up during the night to pee a lot? Are you drinking water too close to bedtime? Are you having issues cutting your brain off at night? What are some things you can do for that? Work with your coach. They will help you with your bedtime routine. Habits of a healthy mind. I love this. Do you set quiet time for yourself? Do you meditate? Do you spend time reading inspirational books or videos? The Life Book is wonderful. It's brain food. What I love about Habits of a Healthy Mind is if we don't put good nutrition in here to think about, if we don't put inspirational, positive, uplifting things in here, our brain's just going to autopilot other stuff. And because we are designed biologically for the last bajillion years to pick up on all the negativity in the environment, we have to purposefully counteract that every day. So having things that you put on a regular basis in your mind, something to chew on. If you want to know what I do, I do a Bible journal every day. It takes me 15 minutes, and it has a gratitude section. It has a contemplative section. It has a prayer section. For me, that works really well. Also, I find inspirational books. I ask my coach, what are you reading? What are you thinking about right now? Other people that are in this health and wellness journey with me, I ask them what they're reading. And a lot of times it's something I'll pick up and grab too. And I mean, as you can see, this one I'm reading right now, they're not super thick books, but they're really, really good things to jump in on. Healthy surroundings. Ooh, how many people have had stuff creep back into the pantry that does not belong? Or Val, Val was traveling. You were gone for what, a month? So those surroundings are what they are. And I know getting back home and back into your routine and your stocked pantry, it's such a blessing. But you think about that. You might have been at the beach for 2 weeks and eating wheat thins like a champ, and you come home and all of a sudden wheat thins are back in your pantry, and you're like, oh. So and then also, who have you been hanging around with? Are you back to hanging around with those drinking buddies and those going out to eat all the time friends who are always trying to take you to Five Guys or wherever? Just start thinking about that. And healthy surroundings too means, you have to protect your joy. So if there's people, if people are kind of entered into your life that are kind of a negative drain on you, maybe it's time to look at boundaries again with that. And sometimes it's friends, sometimes it's family, like my parents are going through age-related stuff. And so sometimes I have to have boundaries with that for myself. I'm there for them and I love them, but that's a new section of my life. And I have to have some boundaries with that. That's part of healthy surroundings. I love how he says, what 3 things will I do tomorrow to make my day more optimal? So at the end of the day, thinking about that, what are 3 things I'd like to do differently tomorrow? What is something that went off the rails today that I would like to make sure that doesn't happen tomorrow? I want to experience the joy that sidetracked me from. This is really cool. On page 260, it's a weekly tracker. So, we've got kind of the daily stuff that we're thinking about. And again, I'm telling my clients, and talk with your coach also, I'm having them focus on a couple of healthy habit areas. You don't have to feel like you've got to track all 6 every single day. I mean, some of them, hopefully you'll get your water on lockdown, all of that. But have ones that you focus on and you build strength in. And then when you feel like your autopilot setting for that habit is good, then maybe it's time to bring in a new one. Don't try and do too many at once. I love this weekly tracker. And also the habits build on each other. So for example, if healthy sleep was one you were struggling with and your sleep is back on point, you're going to notice your energy is better. You're not craving things. You're not hungry. You're feeling satiated. So now might be a good time to take on the healthy motion one because you're feeling better. So, just the habits are all interlocked and interwoven. So, I just don't want you to bite off more than you can chew, because if you have too many irons in the fire, you're not going to be able to focus and really get it right. So you've got this weekly tracker, and this is great. This is your, reminder of your goal weight, which if you've reached it, awesome. Are you staying there? One of the things I'm doing is by having this little August challenge list for myself. I'm not trying to lose weight, but I am, because my body's like, look at you, you're watching your habits, and sure enough, some weight's melting off. I'm like, I'll take it. But things like not just the scale, we get so focused on that. Also, measurements, your waist circumference, your BMI. And measure how your progress is doing each week. Have you moved forward? Have you moved back? If you've moved back, let's go back over your week at what you've been tracking and figure out why, and work with your coach to move from that. And I love how there's a little 1 through 12 for all the 6 healthy habit areas. Some might be staying the same a few weeks in a row, and some might be getting up to 12 because those are the ones you're working on. But that lets you know when you're getting good in one and you might feel ready to bring on the next one. And then it says, it says right here on page 261, you can download the daily checklist and the weekly tracker from habitsofhealth.com. And Dr. A suggests you buy an expensive loose leaf 3-ring binder. Wow, this keeps going. I thought I'm almost done. And then there's a monthly tracker. So we talked about once a week. That's great. And then you remember when you started your journey, how you stood on day 30 and you looked back over all you accomplished and it felt amazing. And you thought, how in the world am I even here? It's bringing that passion back. It's like my little brother does with that, PR that he's looking for. You can look back over and go, wow, I'm only on day 4 of firing this up. And I'm like, look at all that's changed in 4 days. So I'm super excited and pumped to fill out this monthly tracker at the end of August going into September. And it's going to be fun to share with my coach. So I want to say this too. If this is intimidating to you, or if you feel feelings inside of like, oh, I don't know if I really want to do this, then what I want you to do is don't start it yet, because we shouldn't need, should, ought to. We need to want to do it. So what I invite you to do is talk to your coach and go, where is this coming from? Why don't I want to track my stuff? It took me 5 years of working on here and here to get to where I want to track. All right. I'm slow as a turtle, y'all. Okay. So, but if you try and force this on yourself, when there's some kind of ooky stuff going on and your brain is fighting you, you have got to overcome that first, or you're going to resent this. That's part of the journey. You remember when you resented eating healthy because you thought, oh, it's not going to be as good as the junk. But then you got to where now you can't imagine eating that junk anymore, because healthy is what you want. It's what you crave. It's the same with all of this, the mindset stuff, everything. And I had a lot of stuff I needed to overcome to get to the point where I'm excited to track. So I just wanted to share that. Kenny, go ahead. I'm sorry I talked the whole time.
No, you're fine. I'm going to be very direct, which you all know that I always do that anyway. But this whole tracking aspect, and Allie, this may speak to you, but go back, if you're looking at all this, just like Allie said, it seems like a daunting task. Think about your commitment. Are you really committed to doing this? Because in my situation, I was 280 pounds at 44 years old. And I was like, well, I think I got this under control, but I didn't have a daggone thing under control. But I mean, and so when I say that word commitment, it's very specific. So it's not a statement of, what I want or what I need to do. It is what I am going to do. And you've got to embrace that. And if you're not embracing that, I am going to do this, or you're using the terminology, I really need to do this. If that's how you're saying this, you need to check yourself right then and go back to element 1. Why do you want to get healthy?
And element 4.
Yes.
Because emotion drives action. There's some emotion in there. There's some emotion that's unresolved. That's stagnating you where you are.
Yeah. And the thing is, we all have stuff. And that's what element 4 is for. One of the things that I have learned, now you may have never heard me talk about this, is if you look at this and you're going, ugh, or if you're sitting on the couch and going, man, I really don't want to get up and walk outside. You got to squash that thinking instantly. And you've got to do what's called a production pivot. You need to get up off your butt and go get busy. Because what you're doing is you're essentially just crapping out for the day. And I'm guilty of this because I've got a physical job. It's been hot. It was 99 degrees here today. And we cut grass till 4:30. And I walked in the door and go, woo, this air feels good. And I sat in the chair. And as soon as I did, I jumped right back up and I said, no, I can't do this, because I know what's going to happen. I'm going to sit there and I'm going to get lost. And so the great thing with what me and Allie have been doing too is when you're tracking what you're doing every day, you begin to slow down time. So those of us who are busy, like myself, I'm busy minded. I have a hard time just slowing down and smelling the roses, for lack of better terminology. But when I'm tracking what I'm doing daily, and I've been very specific with what I have to do every day. So I'm doing 2 45-minute workouts. That's not on the 5 and 1, and we're not recommending you do that. But so I've got to really say, hey, I've got to get this done I've got to get this done in the morning. I'm trying to drink 64 ounces of water before 8 a.m. I've got to get these things done. But when I do that, I slow down the rest of my day, because I'm not thinking to myself, I'm behind the 8 ball. I got to hurry up and drink the rest of this water. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. So by tracking what I'm doing, I'm slowing down my day and I can get more done. So I got some things done today that I thought I would have to wait till Saturday to get done, because I'm keeping track of what's going on. And so that's just one more puzzle piece that you get as part of this mindfulness journey that we're all on. And so it's really great to kind of to dive into that. And one thing I wanted to touch on, I know Allie went over this. If you're in this process and you're several weeks in, you get beyond week 1. Yes, the first week, some of us have those cravings or we feel a little hungry. But once you get beyond day 4, especially once you get beyond week 5, 6, and 7, if you're feeling hungry consistently, or you're feeling like you're just craving something consistently, you need to do this more than ever. Because
it could be sleep, or it could be, water, or it could be stress, or it could be, there's a reason we have those 6 healthy habit areas for sure.
Absolutely. And so here again, I know for some people and I'm not a very organized person. I'm not super organized. At first, this was a chore for me, but now I keep it written down every day. I've got an app on my phone. I can track these things, and I've made it easier for it to work. And I've got reminders that go off constantly during the day. Have you eaten at this time? Have you eaten at that time? Did you, have you walked today? Have you here's something else, taking a progress picture once a week or even when you start. A lot of people don't want to do that. Guys, hear my heart on this. I've had clients lose 160 pounds and they never took a starting photo.
Oh, man.
And then they get to the end, they're 135, 140 pounds. They're like, well, I never took a photo. So you never really truly see the progress. With what I'm doing, I have to take a progress picture every day.
Yep.
But what I'm going to do at the end, I'm going to have 75 photos stacked up one by one, and I'm going to play a video and I'm going to let you see it all.
Yeah.
And here again, was I proud where I started 4 days ago? Not really. But was I proud where I started 5 years ago? Heck no. But I still got that photo, and I'm so glad I took it, because every now and then on those days where I feel like I'm failing, I can always go back to that photo and go, I'm still doing a good job. I may not be where I want to be, but I'm in progress and I'm gaining momentum every day. And that's what this is all about, guys. Moving forward, tracking how far you've come, tracking where you're going, being intentional, and tracking tomorrow, I will do XYZ. And we just talked about that. So I'm going to stop recording there. Next week, we're going to do element 14. For those who are truly ready to transition, you've hit your goal. This is the element for you. So I'll leave you with that.
Yep.
And,